Harry Chapin, Cats in the Cradle. That was his only #1 song, and as I've mentioned many times on the radio, he didn't write it. He wrote the melody, and he wrote the chorus. But Sandy Chapin, his wife, wrote the story, the poem. And actually, she didn't write it about him, even though most people thought it was about him because he was away so much. And as Tom Chapin said the other night, it's a song that made more fathers guilty than any other song in the history. But see, it didn't just make them feel guilty. It actually changed people's lives. And I know some stories. I mean, I met a guy years ago. He was a friend of mine, and he worked in the television world. And he told me this story. He said his son had been after him to get this record. Kid was like 9 or 10 years old. And he said, yeah, I'll get it. And he didn't. And the kid kept bugging him. So finally, he got it. And he brought it home. And he said, here's the record. You know, the kid said, sit down. No, he said, I'm busy. He said, no, sit down. You gotta listen to this record. And the guy resisted, but finally, and the kid just wouldn't let him go. So he sat him down and he listened to the record, and the guy said he sat there and the tears were coming out of his eyes, and he changed his life. He quit his job and he got another job so he'd be home with his kids more. I mean, is that a power? I told Harry this story. He knew this story. I told him this story. He loved this story.
Oh, so that was back 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah, that was 20 years ago. And but there are a lot of stories like that. I bet you that if we went around the country to people who were Chapin fans and we asked them to tell us stories about Cats in the Cradle, we would hear some amazing story. You could have a whole book on that, I guarantee you.
I don't know the impact of it, but a friend of mine, he's from Zimbabwe. He grew up in Africa, and he was at the university there and was at the chairman of the political science department in his office, and he had the lyrics to the song framed in his office.
Wow.
So sort of, all the way across the world.
Yeah, a very powerful song that has had a lot of influence on the lives of people. Harry Chapin, Cats in the Cradle. And our guest tonight is Jen Chapin, who is Harry's daughter and also a singer, who is performing quite a bit around town. And Jen, just mention again where you're going to be. Next Monday you're going to be in...
Monday I'll be at a place in Soho called Spy.
Now that's not tonight. It's like a week from tonight.
It's a week. Monday, August 4th, and then August 7th I'll be at the Bitter End on Bleecker Street. And that's about 9:30.
All right.
August 7th.
And Jen Chapin has a wonderful band. I love your sax player, by the way. I hadn't heard him before.
He's wonderful.
He's outrageous. He gets all kinds of sounds out of it.
Oh yeah, he's got all these effects pedals, and he's playing with some of the he's playing with Paul Motion. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, the drummer. Yeah.
He, I mean, it's hard to pin these guys down, and he's one of the most humble people I've ever come across.
Oh, he sounded great the other night.
He's wonderful, wonderful person.
So if you go hear Jen Chapin, you'll hear some wonderful songs from Jen, and she's got a great voice, and you'll hear a great band as well. Hi, this is Bill Ayres. You're on Wplj.
Hi, this is Jimmy from Long Island.
Yes, Jimmy.
I have a story about Harry Chapin. First of all, I relate a lot to that Cats in the Cradle song, being that I have sons of my own, and my own father was like that.
Oh, boy.
And so I consciously make an effort not to be like that.
Right.
So, but about Harry Chapin, it was sometime in the 70s I'd seen him at the Garden State Arts Center in New Jersey.
Right.
And the thing that struck me, I always think of Harry Chapin as the Pied Piper because...
he was.
Because he had, after he had finished his show, there's lawn seating and, there's regular seating. He came down into the audience and he walked with us over the lawn throughout the whole area, and all you saw was him and this stream of people behind him just following him. And he was just, he was just a regular person. He was interested in you. He was asking you questions about yourself, which it struck me totally strange because, here he was, this famous person, and he was just so accessible.
Yes, accessibility. And he also created something that he called the living room effect, which was that no matter how big the place was, he tried to create, if not intimacy, I called it a semi-intimacy. You know, he would try to relate to people, and that was one of his great gifts. He was an amazing live performer. And by the way, there's going to be an album out in, I don't know when, October maybe? There's a new record company, Bottom Line Records, and they're putting out an album of Harry's 2000th show that was at the Bottom Line. Oh, you didn't know this? Yeah. These are true basement tapes. You know, they've had these for a long time, and they're putting out a double album, and we're going to have it hopefully ready for Hungerthon this year, and we're going to make it the premium for Hungerthon.
I hope it's not one where he sung himself hoarse.
Well, it could be. You never know with Harry. It was actually 3 nights, so they have a lot to choose from.
Right.
So they'll pick out, if they're anywhere he's really like
Singing
that.
and being the Pied Piper are not necessarily conducive.
I know.
Well, sleep.
I must say that I did hear him on nights when he was in less than the best of voice, but the show must go on, and he did it, right? You were there for some of those, probably. But so I'll keep you folks up to date on this album. It should be out in a couple of months, and it'll be interesting because it's a live performance from the Bottom Line. And I was there for one of the shows anyway, and he was in good form that night. So we'll catch some more. So thank you for your story, Jimmy. And you're right, he was like the Pied Piper. Hi, this is Bill Ayres. You're on You're on PLJ.
How you doing, Bill?
Yes.
Ben. First, I'd just like to say I love your show.
Thank you.
I've just a couple things to say. You made previous mention to the sequel, The Taxi.
Yes.
Just wanted to tell all your listeners that that song is available on Harry Chapin, the Gold Medal Collection.
Oh, that's right. Okay, the
it's
Gold
just
Medal
not the
collection.
record itself, sequel, I haven't seen on CD.
Yeah, but the song is
the
there.
Electra
But
CDs.
exactly. The song
Okay.
is on the second CD.
All right, so for our caller before that, I was suggesting he loved Taxi so much, you ought to check out Sequel. All of you who are Chapin fans and you've heard Taxi and you want to find out what the next part of the story was, it's Sequel, and it is on the Gold Medal collection, which is in the stores, and you can get it.
Right, and I don't even know if you know this, but as a matter of fact, you're also on that album.
People have told me that. You know, I don't even own a copy of the thing. But
there's a clip from an interview he did with you in November of 1980.
Yeah, right. Yeah, people have told me that, and I've never heard it. I don't have the album even.
Well, you got to go out and get it.
I should be ashamed. I should get it. You're right. You're right.
And the other thing I wanted to say is I'm fairly young. I'm 23, and I am a Harry Chapin fan because of my dad. And I remember once back, I guess it was sometime in 1980.
Right.
I saw a concert of his over at Queens College in Flushing, Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And baby.
I was like 6.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what it was, but there was one song or something where he had someone come up, and it was actually me. He took me out of the audience to say something on the microphone.
Neat.
Do you remember what song that might have been? There was like something where, maybe it was a clip where he said, he was talking about the song where his brother said it sucks.
Yeah.
I think.
30,000 pounds of bananas.
Right. And he said the ending, he says, Harry, it sucks.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember, as a 6-year-old kid, I was nervous to go up there.
Nah, he didn't have 6-year-olds coming up and saying that. Even Harry wouldn't have done that one.
No, he did.
Yeah? Oh,
I went up there because my dad was telling me what to go say.
Right.
So I ran up there. But
he always used to preface it by saying it was a technical term in the music business.
Right,
you remember that line, right?
Maybe it wasn't that. I can't remember what it was. I just remember.
Well, how about could it have been something for Flowers Are Red?
Honestly, I don't know. I was 6.
Yeah, of course. You probably wouldn't remember. Well, that was another song that I loved, Flowers Are Red, and of course Tom did that the other night.
Right.
And again, it was a true story of something that Harry had heard. A kid brought home this report card, and it was from a teacher who obviously wasn't very creative, and it got Harry very angry. Well, teachers all over the country have loved this song and have used it since then. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yeah.
It's just teachers love Flowers Are Red because it says something about the meaning of education, of learning, and of just relating to kids. Hi, this is Bill Ayres. You're on WPLJ.
Hi, this is Dana from New Jersey.
Yes, Dana.
I was calling in how you had that one girl talking about her grandfather, her father who died, and she was close to him.
Yes.
I was just saying my grandfather, like, he passed away 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He died of cancer.
Right.
And they said how you write down the memories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jenny was talking about that. Have you done that?
No, I
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. You know, some of the things that he said to you, some of your memories of him, some of the wonderful gifts that he may have given you, not just things, but, you know, parts of himself that are there with you.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a big influence on your life, huh?
Yeah, like, he would always be there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even, like, I showed a lot of anger towards him.
Right.
And it's like he'd always put that behind him and
Right.
just, like, be there and help me whenever I needed it. And my parents had gotten divorced, and he was there.
Oh, yeah. So you weren't living with your father?
No, I'm living with my mother.
So he was a kind of a father figure for you?
He was there for me for most of it, and
Right.
so.
Well, that's wonderful that you had him, and you know it is true that in the lives of many of us, there's something that goes wrong. Let's say with a mother or father, and somebody else steps in and plays a big role in your life. It may be an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or an older brother or sister, whoever it may be, and you remember those kind of people, because they make a difference in your life, and they care about you, and they give you some gifts, and they become this extraordinary, larger-than-life person for you, the little kid, or you, the teenager. And as you grow up, they make a difference in your life, and that's really what it's all about. Glad you had your grandfather. He's no longer with you, but he gave you wonderful gifts and a spirit. And, you know, that is one of the ways that people live on. They live on in the spirits of the people that they've touched. That's something that I think anybody can agree with. We don't know what goes on the other side over there, but we do know what goes on here, which is that there are legacies that are left. There are memories that are there. And as Jen Chapin mentioned before, writing down those things is important. Maybe even talking about them into a tape recorder, or having a dialogue with a brother or sister, or maybe your one of your parents. All of that kind of thing can help to preserve the memories. Hi, this is Bill Ayres. You're on WPLJ.
Yes, hi. I'm calling to talk about a counselor that I had originally in junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
And what I liked was that even though I was a troubled teen and, you know, had problems at home and all that stuff, he was able to give me advice. And
who's this, Harry? Oh, a counselor. No, I'm sorry, a counselor. Okay, I got you. So this was a counselor in high school, right?
Junior high school.
Junior high school, okay.
Yeah. And around that time, I was beginning to branch out, and so I became a fan of Michael Jackson.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't a true fan, but for me at that time, I appreciated that I was able to talk to him about it, because, you know, when you're a fan,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and because I didn't really know anybody else who was a fan. So I'm just glad that even though he didn't like him, he wasn't a fan at all. I don't think he was able to talk with me and still give me the advice that I needed to go ahead in life.
Yeah, well, that's important when you meet somebody like that. I mentioned a whole bunch of relatives, but you know, sometimes it's a teacher, a counselor.
I was hoping somebody was going to mention a teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You had an experience teaching, and I guess you're still doing a little bit of teaching, and I know it moved you, right?
Yes, yeah, I'm in touch with a lot of the kids that I taught.
You taught music?
Yes, I taught music from 5th grade to 12th graders.
Mm-hmm. And what did you like most about it?
Watching them, I mean, the younger kids, you know, just over the course of a year, I'd be watching them grow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
there's so many little things. Just you know, speaking of writing things down, sometimes you know, a kid would say something that was just remarkable that I would have to write down, you know.
Yeah.
Without them seeing it.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
Just classic lines.
Well, along the way in life, there are all kinds of people who touch us. And sometimes it's a counselor or a teacher or somebody from school. And they may not even know the power that they've had in our lives. But we know. Thank you for sharing that one. Hi, this is Bill Ayres. You're on WPLJ.
How you doing? My name is Josh. I'm calling from New Jersey.
Yes.
Jen?
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. You're playing the Bitter End August 7th?
Yes.
Oh, because I'm in a band called Burlap to Kashmir.
Oh, you're in the famous Burlap to Kashmir. I've heard so much about you guys.
So excited to play with you there.
You're playing that night?
Yes, August 7th.
What time are you playing?
We go on probably 9 or 9:30.
Oh, okay.
I'm very excited to see you. And I would just like to say, like...
We're probably right at... Are you doing like an hour set?
Yeah.
Okay, because, then I must be going on right after you guys.
Oh, that's so great. Just Harry Chapin is one of my singer's biggest influences. Biggest influences.
Really?
Yeah. And I love Harry Chapin myself. I love him.
What do you play in the band, Josh?
I play keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
Keyboards.
And I just, before he was in the band, he would go around playing coffee houses, and he'd always cover Harry Chapin.
Wow.
And I'm trying to remember the song, which he did. Oh, Mr. Tanner?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a great song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
That's a great song.
That really is.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear you play.
I'm very excited to hear you guys. I had to drop some things off there a couple weeks ago when you were doing your live recording.
Right.
I couldn't stick around. How did that go?
It went very well.
I have to say that you guys are mentioned always as the model of how to do the getting to the next step in the music industry. This band has just built up an incredible following.
All right.
Just off the quality of their music.
And the name of the band again is?
Burlap to Kashmir.
Burlap to Kashmir.
Which I'm looking forward to hearing you guys.
Oh, great. I'm so excited to hear you, really.
All right,
thank you, Josh.
So if people come to the Bitter End a week from Thursday, they get a double header, right? You plus Burlap to Kashmir. That's cool. All right. See, you never know who you're going to...
Yeah.
Right? See, there it is.
Radio.
Hi, this is Bill Ayres. You're on WPLJ.
Hi, Bill. Julie from Long Island.
Yes, Julie.
Two little quick stories about Harry. I used to drive a tow truck on the Throgs Neck Bridge, and everybody there was big Harry Chapin fans. One of the guys comes in one day, and he goes, Harry came through the lanes. He gave me $10. I said, Harry, how's it going? He said, keep the change.
I love it. I love it.
He come running in, Julie, he told me to keep the change.
That's cool. Yeah.
And my son, who teaches at the Long Island Drum Center, used to take lessons from Harry's dad, Jim.
Oh, sure.
And I think Jim still goes around with his drum pad everywhere he goes.
He sure does.
Every time you see him.
He's not stopping. He's traveling all over the world.
He used to have the little gremlin, and he'd be outside the drum center. And I pull up there one day, and there's this kid sleeping in his car. And he said he drove from Ohio because he heard Jim Chapin was giving lessons here on Long Island.
Wow.
And he slept in his car just to take a lesson with Jim.
Yeah.
And,
well, Jim was there at the concert the other night, Julie. I was talking about the concert. Were you able to get to the concert the other night?
No, I just happened to listen on the way home, and I said, oh, wow, this is great.
Yeah. Well, it was a great concert, and at the very end, Tom Chapin called his father up, and Jim did a chorus of Circle.
Right.
And Jim can still scat and do his stuff.
He broke into scat.
I have him. I videotaped them every time my son had a lesson.
Yeah.
And it was funny because the drummer of Zebra was a lot older, and Jim used to run in next. He'd be taking lessons with Bobby Rondinelli or something, and Jim would run inside. Look at this kid. Look what he can do. He could do my Moeller method. He would run in there. He goes, I taught him the Moeller method. Look, he could play it. And my son still teaches today. Matter of fact, he just played at the Bitter End, too.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that I'm sure you got was one of the sets of books that Jim did.
Yeah, he has them.
But see, the reason that set of books came out was Harry Chapin.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if Jen knows that story. You probably do.
Know about that.
He forced his father to do this. His father
Horrible businessman, amazing drum teacher.
He's the greatest.
But he should be, I mean, he's had such an impact on so many drummers all over the world, and he just never was able to market himself.
He didn't market himself. So Harry said, look, I'm going to make sure that you get this book out there because this is going to be part of your Social Security when you when you get older, and it's worked.
It's a famous book,
You can't finish that book because it'll say, okay, after you complete the book, now do page 16 with page 14 and add page 64.
It'll kick your butt.
That's right.
And it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah. So
But,
for any of you who are drummers or you have kids who want to be drummers, you got to get the Jim Chapin.
Advanced technique for the modern drummer.
There it is.
The Mola method. Yeah.
Advanced technique for the modern drummer. Jim was a drummer in many of the swing bands of the 40s, Tommy Dorsey among others, and I think Woody Herman, and he never lost it, man. He still can.
He's probably better.
Yeah, he's really good, and he's 78 years old.
My brother went to see him last night he was playing in Hampton Bays at the Canoe Place, and he went out to see. He was playing. The set started 10:30, went till 3. 3:30. So,
oh man, till 3:30.
78.
78. Well, as
he's larger than life.
He's in his own way, sure is. All right. Well, thank you for calling, Julie, and sharing those stories with us. That is a great story, though. Keep the change. I'm sure Harry used that a lot of times. We got time for another one. Hi, this is Bill Ayres. You're on.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Jen. This is Mauricio from the Bronx. Harry influenced my life because his sense of humor was great. I have a father who is in the hospital now, who's very critical from a stroke, and has been in the hospital for about a year. And now he's in a nursing home. And the right hemisphere of his brain was taken out, which my mother told me later on, which I never knew. But since he's been in the hospital, there was a big separation with the family and everything like that, and the conflict of how long my father should live and all that.
Oh, yeah, that's horrible.
And I just didn't, my mother and I broke off the relationship because I just didn't want to see him suffer. And to me, he suffered a lot through it. I made tapes for him with music and memories of his, he was a teacher, and
it's wonderful.
he made tapes of my sister and I when we were children with our voices. So that was a big influence. But I went through a hard year this year, and I wanted to mention a very close person that I became friends with throughout this year. Her name is Debbie, and she has influenced my life a great deal through all the difficulties I've went through this year. I had a partner who just died with AIDS last year, too.
Right.
So she's been a very influenced, like a mother-type person to me.
Good.
And
Good.
she was wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We'll do one more. Hi, this is Bill Ayres. You're on.
Hi, this is Pat from New York.
Yes, Pat.
Another Ohio and car story. We used to, my parents used to dump all the kids in the station wagon, and we'd go down to Florida for the Christmas break and be stuck in the car with Harry for about 24, 25 hours. But it was the first time that I began to realize that that the lyrics were separate from the music. It was a really intense period in my life of realizing that there was intent behind the songs, and it was a revelation to me as a kid. And after that, I became a full-fledged daydreamer, and now I'm emerging as a writer, as an adult.
Good.
And I've written a racial drama, which has a lot to do with what's going on with segregation.
Great.
And we're shooting it in the spring.
Hey, congratulations,
and
Pat.
it's little, but we can use help. Can I give the website?
Sure.
It's clearwindow.com, www.clearwindow.com. It's called White Flight, and it has a lot to do with Harry in that era, and my older brothers sort of rehashing the lyrics with us while we were looking out the car playing license plates.
Oh, that's neat. That's
so it really changed my life to understand that there was something going on other than just this thing that up until then you thought emerged out of thin air. Great period in my life, and I really thank Harry for it.
Thank you for sharing that story.
You bet.
Well, Jen, you got to hear a lot of stories about your dad tonight. I know you've heard many more in the past, and you have your own life to live, just as all of your brothers and sisters do. I mentioned to you that your father said to me just before he died that what was important to him was making a difference in his life. What's important to you?
That was the environment I was raised in, so there's never been a question. It was with my father and my mother that I think all of the five of us kids in our own way.
Right.
That's what we have to do.
It's funny. Harry wrote one of the longest songs that he wrote was a thing called "There Was Only One Choice," and I guess that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that this notion of trying to have meaning in your life and
I think
to make a
everybody
difference.
finds their own way.
Absolutely.
That's what they want.
Absolutely. Well, I know one thing, that Harry Chapin would be very proud of his daughter, and actually of all of his kids. And so am I. Thank you for being with us, Jen, and thank you all of you. Till the next time, this is Bill Ayres, and I wish you much peace and love and hope, because that's something we all need a lot of.
Wplj New York.